Hi everyone, this is Cheryl and welcome to my sewing room. This is block number 5 of the Beginner's Botanical Quilt. There will be 9 different blocks in this quilt. To view all of the blocks in this quilt, play this video until a green screen appears and click on the link in the upper left hand corner. I recommend you buy anywhere from 1/8 yard to 1/3 yard or by fat quarters. So let's get started. This is the block layout. The dark lines represent the seams. The letters in each area represent which fabric you are to use. If you're not sure how to cut out quilt fabric, click on the link in the upper right-hand corner. In this block, you can make it any color of leaf that you like. I'm going to be using different colors of green in each area, or you can make them all the same color. Out of the fabric for the leaf and stem, you'll need 2 5.5-inch squares, 3 4.5-inch squares, and then for that stem, you'll need 1 4.5-inch square. Your background fabric, 2 4-inch squares, 1 4.5-inch square, 2 5.5-inch squares. This is 2 5.5-inch squares of the fabric for the leaf itself. On the back side, draw a line going from corner to corner. So line your ruler up on those corners and draw a line, and you do it on both of them. Take those 2 green squares and bring them together with 2 5.5-inch squares of background fabric. If your background fabric has any kind of print on it, look at it carefully to make sure which is the front or back side of it. My white here actually does have a little bit of a print on it. So bring the green and the white background front sides together. Do that on both of your pieces. Then at your sewing machine, go out 1/4 inch away from that drawn line on each side and stitch 1/4 inch away on both sides, and you do it on both pieces. Then after you've done that, take your ruler and lay it on top of your drawn line and cut it in half, and do the same thing with the other one. Place the ruler on the drawn line and cut it in half. At your ironing board, press all of these blocks on the back side of the seam. Then unfold your fabric and press it on top, and press this seam towards the darkest fabric. After pressing, take all of your blocks and cut them down to size 4.5 inches square. On your ruler, there is a diagonal line going from corner to corner. I've also put little post-it notes here on the 4.5-inch line here and here, so I know exactly where I need to square everything up. Take the diagonal line and put it on top of the seam. So place it on top. Make sure you have fabric extending past this edge and this edge, and that you also have fabric extending out past the 4.5-inch lines on the ruler. Cut 2 sides. Now take the block, bring this corner over to here. So turn it, line your ruler up again, place that diagonal line on the seam, and this time you're going to put the 4.5-inch lines right on the 2 previously cut edges. So take your time lining it up so you don't have to rebuild this block all over from the beginning, and make sure that diagonal line is on that seam. And you're cutting your last 2 sides. To make the stem, you'll need your 4.5-inch square of green fabric and 2 background squares that are 4 inches. On them, you're going to draw lines going from corner to corner, and you're doing that on both. Take one of the 4-inch squares with the line on it and bring it front sides together with the 4.5-inch green leaf square, and line it up on 2 edges right in here like this. Then stitch on this side of the line, very close to the line, but not on top of it, but real close, and again on this side. After stitching, now you're going to trim this side off. So this is the side you stitched on. You stitched on this side of the line. So you're going to trim this side down to a 1/4 inch wide. So I'm going to turn it because I'm a lefty. And place your 1/4 inch line on your stitch line and cut. Then go to your ironing board and press this seam towards the green fabric. So it's going to go in this way towards the green. So after pressing it, turn it back over to the front, take your other square and place it on this side, line it up on the 2 edges along here, and now stitch on this side of the line, but again very close to it. Don't stitch on top, just real close to it. After stitching, place the 1/4 inch line on your ruler on top of your seam, because we're going to trim this side off, and go ahead and cut. Then at your ironing board, you're going to press this seam here towards the stem itself. So go on top and press, pushing against this seam so it goes in towards the stem. When you're done, this is what it looks like on the back side, and then here it is on the front. Place all of your squares in this order. So the leaf points are going up this way on this side, and then here they're going up this way. You have 1 solid square down here and 3 solid squares here. You're going to stitch each row together separately. So start with row 1 up here, bring front sides together, stitch a 1/4 inch seam, then unfold, take the last one, bring it on top, front sides together, and stitch a 1/4 inch seam. After stitching this row together, stitch row 2 together and row 3. After you have stitched the rows together, then you want to press your seams. So I'm going to turn them over because this part here is important in order for your block to lay nice and flat so there's no lumps and bumps everywhere. When you're pressing the seams, I always like to take each seam individually and then press it. Okay, so I go to each one. Then after that, you're going to press the rows going in opposite direction. For instance, row 1 and row 3 are going this way. The seams in row 2 are going this way. So let's turn it over, and you'll see why in a moment that you need to press it like that. So you're going to bring the rows together. So I'm going to start with these 2 rows. So bring them front sides together. Line up your seams and make sure that the seam on the bottom is going in the opposite direction than the seam on top. And if it's lined up properly, it should feel pretty flat in there. I also highly recommend that you place a pin to hold those seams in place. And again, you just want to kind of feel in there. Does it feel flat? Look at it, make sure it's going in the opposite direction, and then pin it down. Stitch 1/4 inch seam along here. Then go ahead and add on your last row, again matching those seams, making sure they're going in the opposite direction. After stitching the rows all together, then you want to press them. So first, press the seams on the back side, and you press each seam separately, pressing it on the back side. Then when you go to press on the top side, you want to make sure that these are the two seams you're focusing on, that it's going all in one direction all the way across. So this row can go that way, or they both can go the same way, just as long as they're all going in the same direction all the way across. And then when you're done, after pressing, this is what it looks like, and the next step is to square the block. To square the block to the correct size, I recommend you use a 12.5-inch square ruler. If you're going to continue making quilt blocks, this ruler is so important. So place the ruler on top of the block, and don't cut anything off just yet. Just lay the ruler on top and see how it looks. Now mine came out a little funky this time, but it still can be saved. There's some places here and there that are sticking out, but this block is not too small nor way too big. So that's what you want to do at this point. Don't square all your blocks to 12.5 inches until all of your blocks are completed. Then you're going to click on a link in the upper right hand corner to learn how to square all the blocks just before you put them in to a quilt. But right now, all you want to do is see if it's close enough. If it's way off, then you need to stop, go back, and figure out what happened. So there could be several reasons. Either your fabric was cut incorrectly, or your seams were not the correct size. Those are usually the two biggest problems in making a quilt. To view all of the blocks released to date in this quilt, play this video until a green screen appears, and then click on the link in the upper left-hand corner. And also on that screen will be other quilt block projects. If you like this video, click on thumbs up, and then click on share to share this video with your friends. And if you haven't subscribed yet, click on that red button down there in the lower right-hand corner of your screen. Enter your email address so you receive emails about my latest video. If you're not receiving those emails, go to your cell phone or iPad, go to settings, and turn notifications on. This is Paul, this is Manny, this is Tony. So glad you came to my sewing room. See you next time, and happy sewing!